Hey, what's up, everybody, and welcome to the Carrey Project. This is the project where we are going through all of Jim Carrey's films in chronological order. I am your host, Brian Kondrach, and with me, as always, and actually with me
I'm here, you're here, Carrie Grant.
Cool, so thanks for tuning in. We just finished watching I Love You Phillip Morris. This was December 2010 release.
I was wondering, I couldn't remember what year we were on.
Yeah,
okay.
It's Jim Carrey, Ewan McGregor, really Leslie Mann's in it, but that's really the people you would recognize and know.
Yeah,
There's a lot of other
those
people
are probably
in
the main
there.
characters,
and
too,
Tony Caroni, which
Oh,
sounds
yeah,
like
I recognized him.
such a made-up name.
He's been in something I've seen him
he's been in like
He's
a lot
really
of stuff. We'll get to him. So, and it's directed by John Requa and Glenn Ficarra.
Who wrote it?
It was based on I Love You Phillip Morris, A True Story of Life, Love, and Prison Breaks by Stephen McVicker. Screenplay was John Requa and Glenn Ficarra. So the directors are also who wrote it. And so, yeah, let's just dive right in. What'd you think?
Whoa.
There's a lot going on in this movie.
There was a long, windy road of all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, it was a super fun ride, though.
It really was.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure I was going to like it early on. I was just like, what? Where is this going?
Yeah.
The whole time, I wrote it down. I was like, where is this going?
Yeah.
And I really wasn't even sure because it was so windy. Like, so many... Like,
there's twists
there
and
was
turns.
no
real clear, like, we know we're gonna get, so spoilers, of course. We start the movie off at the at the end, and it's Jim Carrey's character is playing Phillip Morris, or not, sorry, he's playing he's playing Stephen J. Russell, a con artist, and he is dying, and then we flash back and we see from a young age up until he meets Ewan McGregor's character, Phillip Morris, and then from there, all of the things that he goes through to kind of maintain that relationship, and then dies. But so we start there.
So we know he's in a hospital.
But you don't know exactly when or how he's going to get to that hospital moment. But you're just like, it's taking a long time to get there.
Well, except that it's not, because he's in the hospital several
many
times.
You almost forget, like, this is all going to end up in a flashback and to the beginning of the movie.
Every time they ended up in the hospital, I was looking at it, I was like, that doesn't look like the first hospital.
It's not the right one.
And then the next one, I'm like, that's not the right hospital either. And then you kind of get, like, that happened several times, you know?
So you had never seen this before.
No, and honestly, I didn't even read, like, the fact that he, like, I'm guessing the write-up is a con man. That's what the write-up is. I didn't even read that. So I didn't even know he was a con man, I think, until it was very obvious it was a con man, you know?
Yeah.
So, I had, like, zero clue.
Yeah,
I just knew that he fell in love with someone in prison. I think that's all I knew.
That's really all I think that the synopsis probably says. But, you know, there's synopsises are always a little weird where it's like, you get spoilers where it's like, how do we know what it actually is?
I didn't realize. I guess I underestimated the con man-iness of it.
Yeah.
like early on, he was kind of a low-level con man, but like it just
went,
never ends.
It never stopped. But even like I actually have a note, and I was like, and this is very much at the end of the film when we were watching it. You know, we've gotten to the biggest kind of con that's been going on, and it's like I have this note. It says, "I feel so duped," and it's like I almost lost interest in the movie itself because the directors and the actors had all done such an intense and a great job of like creating this con throughout the whole thing that it's like, well, this movie doesn't mean anything now. It's like I don't want to watch it. Like that's
funny you think that, because that's how I felt about Jim Carrey's book. I felt a little duped, and you were like, no, I totally get it.
It's this long
and I don't feel duped on this.
Yeah, it's so funny that it's like we have these like conflicting kind of feelings about it. So let's go through it a little bit. There's a lot going on. It's based on a true story. I don't know. I have not read the story, but I know I was reading a little bit about it, that it's been featured on things like the Discovery Channel of like, I almost got away with it, or like some of the world's greatest con artists.
Totally.
And it's
so
like,
the guy's based on has actually been on. Okay,
yeah, so,
I would love to watch one of those.
I know, right?
Yeah,
I was looking.
We should look that up and find one. We can do that.
Stephen J. Russell on Wikipedia, he says King of Cons was the Discovery Channel show. On the Run. On the Run was the 2005 episode of King of Cons. Yeah. And then the episode called Got a Boyfriend to Support from I Almost Got Away with It on TV, which is like,
know,
now I
it's
gotta
funny.
go watch both of those.
Yeah, well, and I also wrote down Catch Me If You Can because
Yeah.
it felt like that a lot.
Yeah.
And then also now I'm almost like he's a little bit like the guy from Tiger King a bit.
Yeah, I haven't seen it, but
You haven't watched Tiger King?
No, but I can just from the things I've seen on TV,
He's a
I
bit
can
of a
see
con
where
man,
he's a little
and
bit like that.
he's very gay and like, and that's a lot of like where he like says like I'm doing this for his partners and different partners over the years and stuff like that. It kind of had a little bit of a feel of that too.
It's interesting. I haven't seen that, and it's one of those things that with the beginning of the pandemic, that's like
That's
one
what
thing
everybody
watched.
Yeah.
And I just feel like my pandemic has been very different compared to everybody else's because I don't have that knowledge of Tiger King or that perspective of Tiger King.
You will never associate the pandemic with Tiger King, whereas the rest of us always will.
Yeah, it's like, oh, when did that come out? Oh, Tiger King? Yeah. Let's talk about Jim Carrey in this movie a little bit. That's kind of what we're talking about.
Yeah, sure. Well, my first thought was I wasn't sure about the accent.
Yeah.
I wasn't convinced.
He comes in with a southern boy, southern Texas.
Well, he's
accent,
in Virginia.
Or
Virginia Beach, I think.
Yeah.
Virginia Beach is in Virginia. Early on, that's a different accent than Texas. So, yeah, I mean, maybe that's a little bit more they sound. I felt like it lightened up as the thing went on, and he lived in Texas a long. We lived in Florida, and then I'm not even sure when he went back to Texas. I was a little unclear on that.
He was all over the place at this because he was in Virginia Beach, which is that Florida? No, that's Texas.
Virginia Beach is
Virginia.
Virginia Beach, Virginia.
But then he was in Florida, then he was in Texas, then he was in Dallas, and then he was somewhere else, and it was just like
so. Most of it, I think it was probably in Texas, which I wasn't always clear about, except they mentioned it a few times. I wasn't really sure how he went from Florida to I know he must have gone to prison when he got arrested. He had the warrants in Texas, so they from then on he was in Texas.
And anytime he gets out, he wants to stick around with Phillip Morris, so he just sticks around in Texas. That makes sense.
I felt like his accent lightened up a bit after that. I kind of enjoyed it a little bit more after that, and I don't know if that was purposeful on his part of like not making it as obvious.
It's interesting because he had very different accents. I think he used a lot of different accents in the movie, which is something that was something really cool for Jim Carrey to use, where it's because they weren't like big character voices that he was
big
playing.
And loud.
He was trying to be real people, and it was cool to see his range and the kind of voices that he was using with the doctor or like anytime he's calling people and his cop
voice. He did have a lot of different voices that he used.
But like his accent, I know what you're talking about. There's a shift from his real strong, what sounded like the Virginia Beach accent.
That must have been what it is.
But then when he's like the moment in the movie where that's the sex scene where we're both like, man, he's really going at it, and it ends up being the guy, and he's like, oh yeah, I'm gay.
Yeah.
I feel like there was a really distinct shift in his overall accent, like for the rest of the movie. Like up to that point, he was this Virginia Beach strong Southern accent, kind of whatever that one is. But then it was just a little bit less so, or a little bit more flamboyant in a way at points.
Maybe that's what it was.
Where it was like it was Southern and then flamboyant, and that's what it was.
Yeah.
But it was. I
mean,
maybe you're right. It was consistent throughout.
It was
the whole
consistent
movie.
after that. You're right. After the initial switch, and then just to Ewan McGregor, which I love. He's great too. His voice. I mean, he had a very soft, like a softer voice, but Southern. I was convinced by his.
He's just so sweet.
Yeah,
he's just so sweet, isn't he?
But I guess I've heard him do Southern accents before. I've never heard Jim Carrey do one, or if I have, I can't remember.
I'm trying to think of if he had.
But I definitely remember Big Fish.
Yeah.
He had that almost the same accent.
Really soft.
And so I guess it was familiar to me. So I thought that was pretty good.
Yeah. I didn't realize coming into this is 2010. I made a comment while we were watching it. It's like Ewan McGregor has been in so many movies, and at 2010 he had already been in. I don't even want to take the time to count this, but 25, 30 films already by the time we get to 2010.
Like he's been around forever, and I always feel like he's amazing.
He's always different. He's always something unique and always something very special, whatever he brings to the role.
Yeah. It was an interesting combination to put those two together.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it worked really well. I think it was, I don't know. It was magical a few times, for sure, and they really played off each other really well. I can remember watching some of their more serious conversations. It was like, I mean, I buy it. I buy it 100%. Like this is real to me. It's real.
Yeah,
you know,
it's in deep on that one.
Yeah.
I was looking at the picture of. This is Russell.
Oh.
This is the guy who's the con man.
He's bald.
He's bald. Doesn't really look like. It doesn't really look like. It looks like I don't know who that is.
I don't know.
I don't know. I'll show these.
It's not what I pictured. It doesn't look like Jim Carrey to me.
Yeah.
But
I think it was a pretty incredible casting choice of like the two of them working together, because it's like I would never have thought to put them together in a film at all.
Ever. And then a film like this, a gay couple and con man and a lot of prison. There's a lot of prison scenes, and it's, and there's some intimate scenes. I don't think we never really showed them having sex.
No, there was a lot of implied stuff.
They
and they
kissed
would kiss
and
a bunch
stuff, but it wasn't like the sex scene. I mean, he had the sex scene with the other guy early on.
The scene on the boat.
It was alluded to.
The dirtiest,
I couldn't really see anything.
Sexiest one ever.
Yeah, so I mean that was interesting. But Jim Carrey chose to like the first scene where it looked like a pretty. I mean, you didn't see.
This is
everything.
With Leslie Mann, or is this with the first gay?
With the first gay one. I mean, the Leslie Mann one too, but the first gay one. I mean, it showed him from the waist up, and it was like very sweaty and very thrusty, and like it was pretty full on. I mean, you see,
cover your eyes.
Yeah, I mean, you see it, and so I mean, good on Jim for like, I'll do it. I'll let me do it, and.
They went for it.
I mean, they went.
I think that's incredible.
Close as you could kind of go without being
actually doing it
further rated. So, but yeah. I mean, you're right with Jim. I mean, he definitely made some bold choices.
Well, we're back in. Let's see here. Let me see my notes real fast.
Let me see if I have any notes either. I mean,
this is going back to what Jim Carrey is phenomenal at. This is a very deep movie about relationships, specifically the relationship he has with Ewan McGregor's character, but also like the relationship he has with everybody he knows in prison. Like even the small interactions with anybody he's in prison yards with or dealing with, he is so sincere in all of those interactions.
So it's funny because I wrote down, is he a good guy or a bad guy? And I think that's the question actually through most of the film.
Yeah.
And people have said, they even said, like, I can't remember, maybe it was him. They said, no, you are a good guy. And then you kind of think he's a bad guy for his first life.
Leslie Mann, when he's calling, he's like, you're on the lam again, right? He's like, yeah.
But she still kind of loves him, and she still kind of looks out for him. And so, and it's like, it is a question the whole time, is he a good guy or a bad guy?
Yeah.
And it's not always clear. And then you really do, you like him, and you want to like him, and then he kind of does something, you're like, well, that was kind of shitty.
Well, but that's a con man's job, isn't it? A con man's job is to make you fall in love with him, or make at least
is he a good guy or is he a bad guy?
From the law's perspective, he is a terrible person.
Yeah.
From his relationships, with Phillip Morris, he lies the whole time, but it is earnest and it's true. So he does everything for good, but it always is just the worst way to do it.
Yeah. Okay, so maybe he's a good guy.
We
still like him.
Yeah, we still love him, but he's a con man. I mean, that's 100% true. He's a con man.
Yeah.
And even it comes down to that feeling I had at the end of the movie. It was like, I feel like I've just been conned the whole way.
Yeah.
Like that's Jim Carrey. Really, I mean, the writers and the directors were phenomenal on this movie, but like that's also just Jim Carrey being able to portray that level of connection as a human being to another human being. And that's what in all of our previous episodes, we've talked about how if he doesn't have a relationship to build or that is earnest, then the movie is terrible. It's not terrible, but it does not have the same. It doesn't have the same kind of thing. Ace Ventura 2 was the one thing we were like, oh, this movie sucks. Why?
Jim
because
Carrey
there's no
always
relationship.
has to have a strong relationship, even if it's hate or whatever. It's got to be a strong relationship, and I think it was. And Ewan McGregor played perfectly with him.
We don't have to analyze anything Ewan McGregor did. We've seen him play characters or roles, which I think are just as strong or intimate and earnest as this one. I mean, he's got emotions all over the place, but Phillip Morris himself is kind of a one-sided character in this movie. I mean, he's the one being
naive.
dragged. He's naive. He's the one being dragged through it.
Right.
But he wants to find.
He still
love.
loves him.
Yeah.
In the end.
Well, definitely.
So,
go ahead.
in case someone hasn't seen it, like the biggest con, the con that I feel like you felt conned about was the scene in the beginning where he is in at the hospital bed and he looks like he's dead, or he's about he flatlined.
Dying, yeah.
He flatlined, so he's dead.
Even the first scene is us getting conned.
Yeah.
Because it's flatlining and they run to somebody else.
Right, that's true.
Spoilers.
Yeah. But basically what he did then in the end is he faked his own death. I mean, he faked that he had AIDS. He starved himself.
Yeah.
He got put in the infirmary and then transferred to a private unit by like faking some kind of
the T cell results and
some
the,
kind of
and the
study
the
or
study
something that someone needed. And so I mean, he almost gets away with it. I mean, he's trying to then get Philip out and act as a lawyer again.
All his goal.
He's trying to pretend
Phillip
to be a lawyer once again, and he gets caught finally on that one.
Yeah,
it's so crazy.
It's bonkers. It's just how
I really want to watch the documentary on this guy.
I know.
That is just
the fact that one of the guys was the juror for
that so a guy that he had when he faked being a CFO. It was the guy who found him out and realized he wasn't really a CFO.
The guy who caught him
and he stole a bunch of money from the company.
Oh my god!
I mean, and I love there was a little like montage of like all of these like mini escapes that he did up until the AIDS one,
the big one,
which was really funny too. Like it just like he just kept getting out like
one way after another.
He dresses as a nurse. He dresses as a conjugal visit person. He dresses as like, and he just like keeps getting out. And we're always like, how did they not recognize his face?
He kind of has this look to him, but you wear a vest and you carry a clipboard. People are gonna assume you're doing inspections.
I mean, he did really good at like, and that's really what he was doing. That's crazy.
This is such a words I can't think of. Just so good for Jim Carrey, just to show just the range of characters that he has played in his career, and now it's like one movie, and it's like bam, here you go.
Right.
There's even on Wikipedia. There is the release and like the reception of it. And there is a Steve Purcell from Tampa Bay Times writes, think Catch Me If You Can mashed up with Brokeback Mountains if Mel Brooks directed, and you get the idea. And it's like you've got like Brokeback Mountain, you've got Catch Me If You Can, you got the comedy of it, and it's like a mashup of those two movies. But I really thought multiple times, I was like, oh, I've seen this character, I've seen this movie, and I was like, Liar Liar, Dick and Jane, Truman Show, Bruce Almighty. Like they're all everything that he's done in those big giant roles that we always felt so connected to are all right here in this movie, and it's like you
felt those characters.
There was the lawyer where he's acting as the lawyer. Very much the Liar Liar part. The Dick and Jane when he's got the money and he's really like living life and they're driving around in the fancy ass cars or even when he's putting on this facade when he's at the barbecue, the Truman Show, because it is just this big con. And then Bruce Almighty where there is I think a specific line where he's like, I'm just an ant and God has a magnifying glass. I was like, I think that was Bruce Almighty. But then there was a line, it's like, hey, how's it hanging? He's like, it's to the left, which was another line right out of Liar Liar, where it's like, we're just getting...
It's always funny how he does that.
He throws these little things in there.
I guess people he's like, he must do that himself. He's like, can I throw that in there? It works. And they're like, all right, go ahead.
And Me, Myself, and Irene is in there because it's like, he's got all these personalities.
Totally.
And he's the cop that doesn't know how to handle it. Yeah, he's a cop that doesn't know how to handle rejection. And so he goes down this deep path of self-destruction.
Well, it should have been partly easy for him to play then because he's already played.
He's done everything.
Some of these characters before.
Yeah,
so.
But it's so much fun, and it was
fun. It was entertaining. I guess how you felt duped. I just felt confused some of the time.
Yeah.
I never felt duped, but I felt like,
where's
it going? Do I like him or not? Is he a good guy or not? Like what is he trying to accomplish?
Yeah.
Like why is he like it seems like some of the time he was getting close to being let out, but he still would escape.
Yeah.
Like someone asked him once, like, how much time do you have or something, and he's like, not much.
Well, no, that's because he was he was doing a con. He was working out a con.
But he might not have always. I mean, early on, he might not have had always that much time either.
That's the part where he gets smacked in the face with the.
Oh,
we hit me. Hey,
he
we
needed
hit
to
me
get out.
in the face.
Yeah,
with this.
totally.
I feel like for these characters, it's like the happiest and like safest they were, and like where they needed to be was in the prison cell after the Screecher had been beaten. If you don't know, there's a Screecher guy in the prison that's like just screams
Annoying,
at night,
all night,
and he gets beaten, or Jim Carrey pays somebody to beat him. And then it's like they're having that romantic moment, the dancing, and all the guys getting beaten. There's so many. Oh my god, they're dancing,
random,
and like they're perfect. But then the next scene is that they get ratted out. And it's like, well, now you're screwed. So it's like they would have been. I think they would have been
lived happily
perfectly
ever after,
happy had they not been
stayed
like
in the same cell.
Yeah, if they had not been like taken apart
years.
from each other.
Yeah, maybe.
It would have been like exactly what they needed, and it's like that would have been.
They
the
only
happy
needed
ending.
each other.
But it's one more con.
I don't know. I felt like maybe that would have been okay for Phillip Morris's character, but I don't know. Jim might have wanted more.
Yeah, he did get bored when he was robbing as the CFO. He's like, these people are boring. These people are terrible.
Yeah, he needs that kind of excitement.
Yeah,
he needs some danger.
He needs something there.
Yeah, totally.
So talking about John or Stephen J. Russell and like that character. He was sentenced to a total of 444 years, 99 years for the escapes, and 45 years for subsequent scams. It does not say how many times he actually broke out of prison, which I think we need to watch those movies.
For that.
Oh, he's.
I loved how
The Great Escapee is called.
It showed him like running through the yard, obviously not probably getting away, but like he is like almost he's in solitary confinement essentially now is what they're saying.
1 hour a day.
But they show him running through the yard with the cops chasing him at the end. Like he hadn't given up yet. You know?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. What else do you want to talk about?
I don't know. I mean, go ahead.
I was going to talk about. Let's get into some of like the director's choices and things like that. There's so many parts in this movie where I put down silence is golden, and it starts off I think at the with the judge where he's the lawyer for the first time. And he's like, you know what I'm trying to say, and like there's so many moments in this movie where as a con man and as the characters, the directors just let it live and sit, and it's like.
Sometimes it's great though.
It's like
when I watch people
I don't want to do it now.
When I watch people who can really do it and pull it off, I'm just like, damn, that's good.
Yeah, it's commitment to the character.
Yeah.
It's 100%.
I even get annoyed with it sometimes, but I respect it still. Yeah, you know,
because you know it's funny. You know that it's like there's that cycle, and this is something else I want to talk about. Is just the cyclical nature of comedy, but this movie, like there's that cycle where it's like. Okay, here's the expected time to respond. That didn't happen, so it just keeps going. I'm getting annoyed. I'm getting kind of frustrated.
What's happening?
I'm tired of this. Okay, you know what? This is just absurd. Okay, I really get it. And then it's funny. And then you're like, bam, we're back at the start. Like that's how that works out. And the directors, John and Glenn, just nailed it so many times in this movie. Yeah. But it was also moments of intimacy where they just let it be quiet when they're.
And it was just the right amount. They didn't do it all the time. There was a few of them, and that was enough, you know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I was going to also say, like, harkening on the cyclical nature of the film, you mentioned it that you could never really tell what prison or what hospital we were in, which I think was a really, really great choice.
I think that was purposeful,
But then one of my favorite scenes, and it's such a simple scene, was when he's released from prison on a fake bail bond that he himself conned himself into, gets in the taxi cab, the taxi drives away, and you see the camera follow it to the distance and then kind of pan and come around like the field of Texas, and then you see another taxi coming back, and then bam, Jim Carrey gets back out of it with in different clothes.
And he's a lawyer then. Yeah,
it's like we've done this before. It's like, damn, bam, done it.
But that was done good though. I liked it.
It was so much fun.
Yeah. I mean, you're right. The director. Or directors, was it two?
Yeah, it's two of them. I think they pretty much worked together for a lot of stuff.
Some cool things with some of those. It's not effect, but it's a I don't like you're saying cyclical, like a feeling.
It's just a feeling of everything just keeps going around and around and around. And even the script is like, you got to stop doing this. I know.
Do it again. Yeah.
So the two directors Glenn and John directed this together. They directed Focus, which had Will Smith and Margot Robbie in 2015, that I don't think I've seen.
I don't think I've seen that either.
They filmed Whiskey Tango Foxtrot together. They also wrote a bunch of animated shows.
Okay.
The Wild Thornberrys.
I love the Wild
Angry Beavers. This Is
Angry
Us.
Beavers.
They've been directors. They've directed This Is Us and then Next, which
okay.
I don't know anything about that one. But I love the fact, reading that they've worked on, they writers on Bad Santa, writers on
So they've done
a
quite a
bunch
bit
of
of
stuff.
writing.
Cats and
Yeah.
Dogs, which is another sitcom kind of thing.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
But the fact that they've done so much stuff on television and
Yeah.
cartoons really shows their grasp on like the visual gag in this
Totally.
movie.
Yeah.
Because there's a bunch of them.
Yeah, there
And
is.
it's super fun
There
to
is.
like be a part of it. Like
Yeah.
all the murals that are in the prisons.
Yeah.
Or Ewan McGregor like running through the prison and stopping to walk at the
Yeah.
cops and then running again. And
It was
just
really
like
good.
the little dogs and the fancy cars and everything like that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I mean yeah. It's details that really do add to the story and to the visual enjoyment of it.
yeah.
So yeah, I agree.
It all gets piled on to it.
Yeah, totally. I just thought of something when you said that now.
About the visuals and about running and
Yeah, I don't remember what it is.
oh no,
now.
well, they're directing or they wrote Jungle Cruise, that new the new
that's not even
rock
out yet.
that's coming out.
Yeah, that's
new
cool.
rock movie that's coming out.
Yeah.
I also wrote in my notes, how do I become Ewan McGregor or Jim Carrey? Like, this is one of those movies that it's just like so good,
Yeah.
so fun, and it's like I want to be in a career like that.
It was really fun. Yeah.
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 What do we
I
got?
don't know. The only thing I wrote in addition to that was, it's kind of deep. I don't know. Like, it was kind of at this point where I don't know, you just saw how broken he was and how broken Ewan was. And I wrote, there's just so many like lost, broken people in prison. And it's when he's calling him out. He's like, I don't even know who you are. You don't even know who you are. But I was thinking like, well, he knew enough who he was that he came out.
Yeah.
Like he knew he was gay. Even though he got married and he had a kid, but
Yeah.
I mean, he did get there fairly early-ish. And so why couldn't he really, like, if you could accept that, why can't you accept more of who you really are and stuff like that? And I just imagine the prisons and stuff, like, there's got to be so many people who just they're trying to act tougher, they're trying to be this, or they're trying to, and like they're not real.
You probably lose yourself a little bit in a prison or being in prison.
You have to act certain ways.
Yeah, or else it's gonna be detrimental to your health for a lot of things.
I don't know. That part was. I just found that.
This movie.
I never really thought that until Ewan McGregor said that to him, and then I was like, oh yeah, he's totally right. And like, I think Jim Carrey's character was like, yeah, like I don't think he denied that. Like he kind of accepted that as true as well. So.
It's intense.
know.
You could spend probably a lot. We could spend probably a lot of time just like
Good character development.
breaking.
For him, though.
Yeah, we could break down like every scene, every moment, and be like, okay, how is this? A statement on the human emotion or on the human psyche, and like, why can't he accept himself? But yet he does accept himself. But why can't he stop conning people?
He just can't.
He just like that's who he is. It's like Frank. They make the comparison to. Catch Me If You Can. Have you ever read that? I mean, you've probably seen it.
I've seen it. I don't know if I've read it, yeah.
It's worth the reading, too, like the whole true story of it. But the movie is one of my favorite movies of all time with Leonardo DiCaprio and Tom Hanks.
Yeah.
But Abigail,
Can't help it.
Can't help it.
That's
For a
just who
longest
he
time,
is.
he was just, that's what he figured out what he was good at, and you just kept doing it, and then you can't stop.
Yeah.
And then he gets arrested, and then he ends up working for the FBI,
Totally.
like
Well,
the forgery
that kinda works,
department.
too. Yeah,
and stuff.
that
It's
totally
like,
works.
He's still doing what he's doing,
Yeah.
but he's figured out how to use it for good and things like that.
I mean, again, good on Jim for that character, like I said, character development of Stephen Russell, of like, just, still confused about it. And that's the good thing, you know, like he was, there was so much depth and differences and everything that it's cool.
Yeah.
It's cool to see.
It's incredible. So,
I wonder if Stephen Russell has seen it.
Probably, if he's allowed to. You don't get any outside media. You're in solitary. you were talking about Antoni Coroni, which sounds like just a character's name. He was in Oz. He looks like a mob boss, and I think he's been in a bunch of We Own the Night, Bad Boys 2. He's a DEA agent, Only Fools and Horses.
He looks like that.
He looks like he's the guy that is the mean agent or the mean mob boss or the mean guy. He's been in a lot of stuff for a while. We should probably wrap this up. Need for Speed 2. Oh gosh. So this movie got had a budget of $13 million, which makes you question like.
That's not
with
much.
Ewan McGregor and Jim Carrey, like shouldn't the budget have been?
They must have gotten the royalties from it, which I bet they didn't make much.
No, the box office only had $20.7 million, so it's like it was a limited release. It was like $7 million.
Do you remember in the book too? He actually, and again, I never know what to believe in Jim Carrey's book because it was all real but not real. But he mentioned this specifically, how his agents did not want him to do it.
Yeah,
and he decided to do it.
And I mean, that's the weird thing about it is I remember it got limited released because people were so like
they're not ready.
They weren't ready for this kind of homosexual relationship love story.
I think it'd do better now.
Oh, I would do great now. And I mean, if you haven't seen it. Go freaking watch it.
It's actually really good.
Because it has fantastic reviews. It has like a 70% on Rotten Tomatoes. It's got like a 6.6 out of 10.
Yeah. They were like 8 years too early.
People are, it has generally
favorably
reviews, but some people say this is Jim Carrey's most complicated comedic role since The Cable Guy, which this is like technically a dark comedy.
I did write down, is it a comedy or tragedy?
A black comedy? It is a black comedy.
Don't even start. I wrote down, is it a comedy or a tragedy?
Yeah.
And it was because he kept like overdosing all the time, and he kept like almost dying, and I was like, ugh.
Yeah, it's a very comedic tragedy.
Yeah.
Like, and that's what it is.
It is,
And it's good. So, what did you give it? What's your review of it?
Man, I mean... 7.5.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean solid. Yeah, I think I need to watch it again.
Yeah,
actually, and I think I would. Like, it's entertaining enough that I would watch it again. I think I'd appreciate it even more.
You'd see a lot more of the nuances and a lot more of the like not predictability, but a lot more of like the where he's making the decisions and like where it's going. And you
my confusion is gone now, and I can focus.
You know where the timeline, how the timeline looks.
My confusion's gone. I can focus on the nuances.
Oh yeah, so many deaths. I said fantastic death scene, which is like for faking his own death as an actor to play being dead. I mean, both Jim Carrey and him playing the character was a phenomenal. I thought it was.
No, he was good, and also he almost died in the back of the cop car that one time when he was foaming from the mouth. That was a good scene. I mean, he was
really
doing good there
pushed himself on this one. I got a little bored at one point. I don't remember where it was exactly, but like overall, like the movie is very entertaining. The movie keeps you drawn in, and it's emotional, and it's kind of a crazy ride. So I'll give it definitely an 8. I mean, Jim Carrey and Ewan McGregor, like, wow, fantastic relationships.
Great actors, great connection.
Yeah, I really love the poster.
Scenes.
I really love the poster for
funny.
it too. 2 orange jumpsuits and stuff.
Still just not what I expected, but great. Yeah.
Yeah, it was fun, and it was quite entertaining. So cool. I think that's going to wrap it up for us today. Thank you guys for tuning in. This was the Jim Carrey Project. I'm your host, Brian Kondrach.
And Carrie Grant.
Please like, subscribe, review, comment. Tell us what you think if you've seen this, if you thought this could be better released now, or if you've watched if you've seen it, what you think about it. And then join us next time, where we're looking at Christmas Carol, the 2009 version of it. So it's a little before Christmas time, but we're getting so close to the holidays.
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much, and you stay safe, be careful, and be kind to each other. See you later.
Bye.
Bye.